morning, everyone, and welcome to JVS JobSeekers. My name is Elisa Udaskin, and I am the Director of Employer Engagement here at JVS, Jewish Vocational Service, and we're located in East Orange and Montclair. So a little bit about JVS, as I always start these off that way. JVS was founded in 1939, and our motto at JVS has always been helping people help themselves. We help them get back on their feet, give them training, coaching, upskilling, and help people get jobs. Our job seekers programs are fully funded by Jewish Federation of Greater Metro West and by Project M, and we thank them both so much for their support. So we're going to transition now into our webinar. Our guest speaker today is me. My name is Elisa Udaskin. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. So my name is Elisa Udaskin, and I had a career in marketing at Kraft, which became Mondelez. So if you recognize the brands or the companies, Cadbury, Nabisco, Kraft Foods, they all became Mondelez. And I worked there for 20 years. I started my career in Toronto in Canada. And I worked there for 10 years, then was moved by the company to the New Jersey office, the headquarters for the Oreos and everything in East Hanover. And then from there, I was moved to Singapore, and I moved to Singapore with my family for 2 years. And I led a global team from Singapore. Then I came back. So when I came back, I decided that I wanted to do something different. I had such a great career at Kraft, Nabisco, Cadbury, and Mondelez doing marketing and being a business leader. And throughout my career, I always volunteered and did nonprofit, anything we could do with the food banks, because that was the strategic partnership. So in every country I worked in, I always did that. And I wanted to do something where my passion became my work fully. So over the course of a few years, I explored, and this is relevant actually for me telling you this story, because some of the questions that we got, it may give you some ideas. So I explored different things. I started a social business called Caring Organizer, where I put together organizers for people to help others through meal schedulers and things like that. I wrote a book called Be a Mensch, Unleash Your Power to Be Kind and Help Others. I did speaking engagements. I worked part-time at Starbucks. I took the 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. shift and worked Monday to Friday at Starbucks as a barista. I always had a passion for coffee, and I used to run $100 million coffee businesses. So I could also be a good person to ask, how do I get someone to hire me for a job where I'm overqualified? And from that was probably one of my favorite jobs ever. And I did that while I was writing my book and doing speaking. Then I was approached to be on a board of a startup in Brooklyn. And then I was asked to be the chief marketing officer there. But through that, something happened which was really pivotal in my career and in my life, which was one of the people working for me, a young woman in her 20s who did social media for me, was from Ukraine. And the Ukraine, the war broke out. And we all said, what can we do to help? What can we do to help? And, you know, when it first happened, months later, so that was in February, in September, she came to me and she said, Elisa, can you do something really, it's a big ask. Can you sponsor my sister's boyfriend, my husband, who is able to sponsor my sister, but I can't sponsor him? And I thought, wow, you know, my mom was a refugee in Canada and she was sponsored. I remember hearing all those stories and I never thought of this. I thought, okay, so I did that. I met with him on Zoom to get to know him, and I sponsored them. And then what happened was I remembered that my mom always talked about how when they came to Canada, they had services that helped them. And so I thought there has to be services. So I go on to the immigration website, the US immigration website, go to New Jersey, and there are 10 different agencies. One of them is Jewish Vocational Service. I reach out to them, and we get services for the young couple that I sponsored. And then I started volunteering here, which turned into a job. So the reason I share that story with you is we have a lot of questions. What happens when you're 50 plus, or, you've been out of work for a while? I did so many different things, but my goal was always I wanted to do something to help people, and I needed to make money as well. I had two kids who were in college, going into college and things like that, but nothing was beneath me. And I always tried different things. It's like a weave, as opposed to a linear trajectory. For the first 20 years of my career, it was constantly striving for that next promotion. And then it became, what fulfills me, but also helps pay the bills. So that's about me. So, as we go through this webinar today and you have any questions about my journey or things that you think could relate, please feel free. You can ask me those questions as well. Okay. Okay. So now let's get into it. So this is a little bit different than our other, so for those of you who are new to us, to JVS Job Seekers, okay, we were doing these webinars every 2 weeks. The last one we had was April 3rd, and then we took a hiatus, and now we're starting up again. And so I sent out a survey along with the registration, and we had 27 people answer it. So I thank you, all of you who answered it. Thank you very much, to help shape and inform what you're looking for and what you want for future sessions for the fall. So the first thing I'm going to do, and then I also asked everyone to submit questions they have for this session. So what we're going to do is I'm briefly going to share the survey results and discussion. We can discuss. And then we're going to talk about the questions submitted in the survey. And then if there's time, we're going to end at 11:30. But if there's time before, you guys can put questions in the chat, and Hannah's going to monitor the chat and we'll ask questions. Okay. And I see that Amy, our friend Amy, is here too, who's a career coach. And if there are other career coaches on who've joined us, feel free to jump in as well. Okay. The more expertise we can have, and everybody, the thing is, you can ask 10 people to review your resume, and you'll get 10 different helpful advice. Okay. A lot of this is subjective as well. Okay. So ready to dive in. So you can see here, out of the 27 people, the different topics. Top is job search over 50, followed by AI and technology tools, job search tactics, so on and so forth. Okay. What can we do to improve the format or flow of the webinars? So the survey, it really is anonymous. So I don't know who answered what. So my invitation is for people to email me after you have my email, because you signed up, you got the email for this webinar. You can email me suggestions or further suggestions after this as well, with the aim of improving this for everyone. Okay. So things that we heard were more content curation, more micro topics, deep dive. So I'd love to hear more about that. Bring back the calendar. It is coming back. Additional Zoom features. I would love whoever wrote that to send me an email to elaborate on what you're looking for. Continue to allow the speaker to stay within his agenda and hold more questions for sessions at the end. So this is a mixed bag, guys, okay? We've tried out different ways. We've had speakers pause, and then we open it to questions and then resume. We've held questions to the end. I know some people like one way, some people like the other way. So we'll try out different ways as we go through it. But this is one where I don't think I'm going to make everybody happy because people have preferences on this one. And then keep the chat only to hosts and co-hosts, not seen by all. One person wrote that. I know sometimes the chat gets kind of crazy in terms of lots of messages, but I think for the most part, people like to be able to introduce themselves to others. And I know that a lot of networking conversations happen offline. So we are going to keep it open to everyone. Okay. If you do want to chat specifically that you don't want everyone to see this, for today's session, please chat with Hannah Smith, because I won't be looking at it as much, and we'll have that more of an offline. Okay. Suggestions for future topics and speakers. So helpful. I love this. So here's a whole list. And again, I'm sending this to you, so you don't need to write it all down. Okay. And after you review it, if there's something that's on here that something that's missing, email me. And guess what? already from listening and getting the survey results, we have these dates coming up. So on September 4th, strengthen your storytelling. On September 18th, we had the LinkedIn guru. He is absolutely amazing. Well, everybody's amazing, but like I love Jeff Young. On October 9th, we have networking, the art of the informational interview. October 23rd is TBD, but I have two potentials. One is going to be on technology tools, and the other one is on behavioral interviewing. So I'm just confirming with the speakers. And on November 6th, we have Amy Geffen, who's joining us today, how to job search over 50. Okay, so you asked, and here you are. These are the upcoming dates. And as I usually do, I send out the emails to register for the next session the Monday after. So we always have them on Thursdays, these webinars. And so it will be the following Monday because I don't want people to get confused with which one they're signing up for. Okay. Okay. So now let's get into your questions. Again, I don't know who asked each of these questions. If you want to ask me things as we go through and talk, fine. If not, I don't know who it was. Okay. So what the structure of this section is, I'm putting in the questions and I group them for topics, and then I have slides to talk to you with resources to answer the questions. Okay. The first category is job search over 50. Okay. So any tips for age 61 job seeker? I was laid off from senior graphic design position in May 25 after 8 years. I haven't had to look for a job in a long time. I am networking, have completely revamped my resume, trying to learn newer web and UI software. Anything else to make myself more marketable and not be aged out? And then a second person submitted age bias and returning to the workplace after a long break. Okay. So the first thing is that for most of these questions, you're going to be getting this. There are resources of, if we have them, of a past webinar that we did in the recording. So you can see that in detail. And for this particular topic, Amy is speaking in November again. Okay. But I'll give you my take on this right now. So job search over 50. The first thing to do is an assessment of your situation. This is just what I recommend, and different career coaches are going to recommend different approaches. How much money do you need to earn? How much money do you want to earn? Those could be two very different things. So I encourage people to, if you're over 55 and this individual 61, do an assessment, okay, of an estimate of like how much longer you want to work, what the minimum is, and then what's the maximum in terms of what you're looking for. Okay. Do you want to get a job that is similar to your last job? Or are you open to trying something different? I completely switched, in my 50s. I completely switched industries. I did what I'm recommending is like what I did. Okay. So do you want to get a job similar to your last job? Stay on that trajectory, or are you open to trying something different? What helps to answer this question is doing a lot of information interviews and networking. That's the best way to, on top of like researching and looking at job postings and things like that, it's really important to speak to as many people as you can to explore different avenues and stories of what other people have done. Then network, then you create a couple versions of your resume tailored to the job descriptions. So the job description or the job you're looking for always leads your resume version. Okay. You can have a few different versions of your resume, but when you're submitting a resume, okay, you want it for the person who's looking at it they're hiring for this job, your resume is a strong candidate for that job. Okay. LinkedIn, email, all the jargon, update it all. So if you haven't already, make sure that your LinkedIn is updated. Take a look at your photo. Okay. I'll give you an example for myself. Okay. Which is that I stopped coloring my hair just before COVID. I was a trendsetter, a trend setter. Okay. I started to make that decision just before COVID. I had long, curly brown hair. So my photo on LinkedIn was that photo. Well, when I wanted to start looking into other opportunities, I realized that that doesn't look like me at all. So now when you look on LinkedIn, you see the photo looks like me. Okay. I took that photo maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. I think it still looks like me. People wouldn't be shocked when they see me. So I'm not going to update it probably for a little while unless I decide to change my hair again. So if take a look at your photo, okay? And just make sure that if somebody who sees your photo on LinkedIn then meets you, they're not like, whoa, who is this? Like you should be recognizable. That's basically what I say. You should be recognizable, okay? Email. I hope you don't have an AOL email. I hope you don't have crazybeer at google.com. I don't know. Love stamps at da 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 da. Okay. Your email to present yourself in these times should be a Gmail email. Okay. And not something like Comcast or something that's outdated. And it should be, your name. And since a lot of people's names, there are multiple people out there who have the same name, you can put digits in, things like that. But I strongly don't be cute. Anything with an email that's cute can be just your personal email. But when you're looking for a job, you want it to be professional. Okay. On your LinkedIn as well, you want it to be a professional shot. Okay. And when I mean professional, it doesn't mean you have to have a professional photographer, but you very much have like a plain background behind you. You're wearing a collared shirt or a nice shirt, something like that. Are there any questions? Does anyone want to ask me anything else about this topic, about job search over 50?
Well, I have a question. So one of my job coaches said that I needed to update my photo, and I agree. The problem is for me is that I'm very self-conscious and very uncomfortable being in front of the camera. I'm always thinking about 100 things that I can't, that I would like to do, and I can't. Like when people ask me to smile, I wind up looking like I have RBF, and if you know what that is,
Yes, yes.
resting bee face. Um, and it's because I'm uncomfortable. And the job coach said, well, just have a friend take a picture. And you're like, no, you don't understand. And I've tried, and I just don't have the money, to fork out, for headshots even. So if you have any suggestions for that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I don't think anybody needs to have a professional photographer. Um, you, what I would say, given what you just shared, is, take a look at do you think that your current photo needs to be updated? Yes or no?
Probably.
Okay, so then you have to, then the only answer is to get over your hesitation to have a friend or someone take a photo of you and take a few of them. The way to do it is take a whole bunch, just get it over with, and then select one of them. But you don't have to hire a photographer.
And may I suggest something? I know many people are using AI for the professional photo. So it's cost really cheap. I think up to $30. You can upload your photo and it will make a professional photo for you just for $30, which actually looks like you.
I've never heard of that. Can you please look it up and put it in the chat for us? And Hannah, can you
I
capture
will.
it?
I,
I've
I
never
thought
heard of
about
that.
that as well.
Just an advice there. I'm sorry to interrupt, but most of the time that you get the AI picture, it looks like you, but it's not you. It's a recreation, digital recreation of yourself. And you can definitely see the difference.
The number one suggestion is to have a friend take the photo. Okay, take a whole bunch, and then you can select one. You can explore if this AI tool takes I assumed it took a current photo and then just enhanced it a bit. But I haven't looked into it. But and a suggestion, if you want to send that over, we can take a look at that. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. So for job search over 50, we are going to go deeper into it. I encourage you to attend our session with Amy, and you can have more questions and things like that, that we could talk about that. Ageism is real. Okay. My opinion on how to address this is that you own it. You own it. You are a certain age. And what happens with a certain age is that you have a lot of experience and you can do jobs more efficiently and better. You can bring a lot to organizations, and organizations need a combination of people who are more junior, who are, they're cultivating into rising talent, as well as more senior seasoned people as well. And so the advice I give is so some may want to have younger people that they're growing into roles due to budgets or whatever. And other organizations, or for certain roles, they're going to want someone more seasoned who they don't have to get up to speed as much, who they know are going to be more autonomous. And so the way you present yourself is, like what you said, is about the skills and what you bring. And what you bring to the table in terms of contributing to the organization, helping with the top and bottom line, helping with the processes, so on and so forth. And you keep the conversation there in terms of the job. You could say the same thing when someone's coming in for interview, if they might appear too young, or they might appear too da-da-da or something. You can't control people's subjectivity about things, about what someone's wearing. They don't like the color orange. Why is that person so bright when they come in? Things like that. So it's about how you convey and how you present yourself, about being skilled for this role, and how you can help that company and the person who you're reporting to achieve their goals. So, and you own it. Just own it. Okay?
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, so let's move on to the next topic. So what questions do you have for a career coach? Okay, so these questions were about, I kind of put, okay, it was like ATS or AI. Can you please explain how the AI tracking system works for reviewing resumes? Even though my resume has keywords and responsibilities listed for the positions I apply to, I continue to receive automated rejection letters. Do you have any suggestions or tips to improve resumes to get past the AI tracking system? Okay. So there are 2 recordings that you guys can review. Get Your Resume Seen, Beat the ATS by our Amy Geffen, and Deep Dive Using AI to Improve Your Resumes and Cover Letters. Okay. And this is one of the topics that, the AI topic that I'm trying to get filled for the fall as well. Okay. But I have some information to share with you. Okay. The caveat before I go into this section is this. Yes, there are ways and things that you need to do to get your resume through the ATS system. However, the best chance of you getting a job is through networking. So I needed to say that, as opposed to applying online. Applying online and then finding someone who works at the company that you can network with, that's golden. But on its own, the chances of getting an interview simply by applying online are a lot lower than if you network. So that was my thing I wanted to say before I get into this. Okay. Networking is the key. Okay. So let's now answer the question. So what is the ATS system? And again, the other 2 webinars that I'm sending you guys the links to are going to explain this in detail. So applicant tracking system, it's software that helps recruiters manage and streamline the hiring process. It scans, parses, and organizes applicant information and compares it to job descriptions to identify the best candidates. It's a filter. Okay. So it's not a human being looking at your resume. Your goal is to get through when you're applying online, is at a company, let's say it's at Kraft or Mondelez, okay? And you see that there's an open position. You apply online and you're hoping that you make sure that your keywords are matching as much as they can to the job description. that you have all your skills updated, matching job description, you have all that done. But then you still need to do as much as you can to network to get a person who you know or someone who knows someone at Mondelez so they can facilitate to get an interview. Okay. So there's a lot of information in here, which I'll be sending to you. But the key is it's really a keywords game. Okay. And if you're using ChatGPT or anything like that to help you update it, that's a great start. Just remember, you always have to have the human touch. Don't ever have ChatGPT give you a resume that matches a job description without you reviewing it to make sure that the grammar is correct, that it makes sense, things like that. Are there anybody want to ask any other questions about this?
Can I throw something in, if you don't mind?
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying about, and as others say, about the huge advantages of going through a network rather than LinkedIn. My experience with LinkedIn, I go on and put in my specs, my filter for the job. I see a job, someone fill, it's close. I see 100 applicants have hit apply. Now, how you're going to beat the ATS system, which is an algorithm that you don't even know. And there's
That's why
already 100 other people in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
God,
That's why I'm saying, that's
God
why I'm
bless you
saying,
if you can do that.
and that's why I'm saying you cannot rely on it. You need to have it in because in order to apply, they want to have it in there, but you cannot just leave it at that. You must network.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, one thing
Yeah.
I'll mention,
Well,
Elisa,
yes.
if I could,
Yes, Jonathan.
there's
Hi.
a big push towards a new term called back channeling, which you certainly may have heard that JT O'Donnell on LinkedIn Career Insights and Work It Daily talks about. And that is going past the networking, traditional way of networking within companies with people that you know or someone that you know that knows someone at the company. That's a great method, as you're pointing out, very important. But simply connecting with the people, you may have mentioned this, maybe not, at the company you hope to work at, whether or not there is a job posted, because we know 80% of jobs are not even advertised. So there may be a job there and you're not hearing about it because the director is saying, hey, we're not going to advertise, bring someone in, we'll give you a bonus, we'll give you a commission, or we'll thank you at least. And once you send them a connect request, not saying, can I have a job or can you help me get interviewed? Just connect first and then build the trust. Say thank you for connecting, have a great day, maybe track what they're posting for a day or two and comment on it, get seen, visible, and then follow up in the next 2, 3, or 4 communications with that stranger. You're connecting with strangers at the company. That's back channeling. Right time, right place. If they happen to want to interview you, they could possibly contact you, and because there would be, a wise decision to do so, and not so wise not to. So it's really that, belief of just connecting with strangers that are professional can be very good at this time. What do you think of that?
I think that is absolutely on point. And what you're talking about is the long game. And it's building relationships with people as you're networking. There's only one thing I would add to that, which I know but you just, because you shared a lot, which is as you're building that relationship with them and you're coming back to them, is always say, think of what can I do for you? Because if you're able to demonstrate the value of why they should stay connected with you, it could be what you just did. So Jonathan, I want to stay connected with you because you just told me about back channeling, and I'm going to ask you right now, can you email me whatever you just quoted from whatever study on back channeling?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I'm really asking you to send that to me. So if
Yeah.
you send that to me, that reminds me more about you. It keeps you top of mind for me, that you're actually sending me something that's useful. That's something I want.
Yeah, you're building the relationship,
Yeah.
building the trust,
And the value.
and helping, giving, not just asking, correct. But also back channeling, which is interesting what JT points out, it's not even, you don't have to engage in the conversation and build the trust right away. Just sort of right time, right place, they connect.
Yeah.
You don't just send an automated note, you customize it and say why you want to connect and have a great day. And then, that if the timing is right, you're the first in line and beating the funnel, the glut of cattle going through the LinkedIn and other job search funnels, because it is an ATS. It is a crazy world out there right now, and it's overpopulated.
Jonathan, just one thing.
Yep.
In my mind, I'm not even sure I could see a distinction between that and networking, period. That is
Okay,
networking. In
good-
fact, if you read a guy called The Introverted
Okay.
Networker, who I've been reading recently on, he will tell you that is networking. Establishing a relationship, not asking somebody for something right off the bat. He won't
Yeah.
give it a special name. He will just call it networking.
Yeah, that is networking. I'm not talking about networking. Back channeling is with strangers and not necessarily taking it to the next level of the relationship or communication back and forth. That is still a good technique, strategy, extremely strong. But in addition, there's merit, she points out, to connecting with companies that you feel is a good match to your interests and skills and culture, and just getting out there and connecting with 6 people. So a company is very active, they're in growth mode. You go on their job page on LinkedIn, you click on people, connect with 6 people, maybe one will accept and the rest won't. And at least you're out there within the company, and you can do some follow-up, and you could try to network and take it further, yes. But also there's been results, she's pointed out, of people getting interviews through just, sending it out to the right companies that are in growth.
Yeah. Okay. That's wonderful.
thank
So
you.
we have 2 resources, which we can follow up with different strategies. So I love that. In the Introverted Worker, there's a book, Back Channeling Strategy. Like I said at the beginning, there are lots of people who have different opinions and different approaches, and you have to try out different ones. So we'll have those resources. I'll look them up to send. Okay. So Jonathan, if you send me the name of that person, that'd be great. And I'll look up that book. Let's go to Olga. Olga, are you still there?
Hi, I'm here.
Hi, nice to see you.
Hello, good to see you
Hi.
again. So I kind of want to hit some of these marks that these 2 gentlemen have mentioned. So
Okay.
it doesn't matter what you call it, so long as you're doing it and you're getting results and really pushing yourself, fantastic. Again, doesn't matter what you call it, right? You're putting the effort in.
Nachon.
And that's what's really
Okay.
important. So,
Yeah.
so kudos to both of you. And Ruben, Ani Chagit, but my English name is Olga. I want to let you know that with using something like ChatGPT, the best way to use it is to copy the job description and paste it into the actual ChatGPT or whichever AI you're using, and ask it to pinpoint all of the keywords that you require to write a resume for this job description, and it will pull it out for you. It's really helpful. It's it takes a lot of time out of the guesswork also. So I did want to mention that.
Thank you.
My pleasure. And as far as LinkedIn goes, I have found, and I've been looking for work for quite a while, I have found that instead of applying directly on LinkedIn, go to the company website, not the one
Yeah.
on LinkedIn, but go to the company website and actually apply there. Sometimes I even go there to see if the job is real, because sometimes they'll post it on LinkedIn and they're just putting feelers out to see how many applicants they can get. And sometimes they just put it aside and will get to you when they're really ready to put that job out. The other trick I have found, if you're out of work and you're not on unemployment and you really need the income, sometimes looking at smaller companies is the trick because, again, what I found is they don't use ATS, they use recruiters. And if your resume stands out to a recruiter, they're calling you for an interview. So just my 2 cents on all of this.
Oh, that's very good, 2 cents. Thank you.
The other,
Excellent.
I'd give that more than two
Okay.
cents.
Okay, Barry?
if I may, with regards to applying on LinkedIn, because I've actually gotten a lot of jobs from LinkedIn posts in the past, and I've gotten a lot of interviews recently. But the other thing is, even though you're applying through like Easy Apply or whatever,
Mhm.
you can also go back and see who the job poster is, or take a look at the company to see who the president is, and send them a note saying, "I just
Yes.
applied for this. I would love to schedule, a meeting, a call with you to discuss this opportunity further." That's kind of how I do it too. So I'll apply and then I'll
Absolutely,
see
100%.
the job poster, and I'll send them a personal note and say, "Hey, let's talk."
I love it. Yep,
May
all good, everyone.
sorry, may I share from my experience as well?
Sure.
I have the bad luck to
That's
need
good,
to
right?
find a job last year and this year. So this is my second year on the road looking for a job, and I have learned a lot through the process. I have never ever received any single call from a recruiter for a job that I applied to. So I keep applying the ones that I found that I like it, I'm more interested, and I never receive a call back. 99% of the interviews that I have, which I have a lot, came from networking, or a recruiter found me in LinkedIn because of my profile, my experience, etc. So unfortunately, this is not something that you apply and just wait for the
Yeah,
call. It's a full-time job looking for a job. I spend at least eight hours a day working, and it's very very stressful. But if you do it, you see results, definitely.
Correct.
yes, no, absolutely. Great points, guys. Okay, let's
Elisa,
go to the
may I
next.
add something?
Yes,
Um, and people on the call can either confirm or adjust the perception. But based on everything that I've been reading, and in speaking to other groups, there seems to be a lot of what we would call fake job postings as well as fake applicants. And my understanding is that there are bots that generate job postings, and then there are bots that generate applications, and it just floods whoever is putting out an employer's job posting. So, and then the employer is completely overwhelmed trying to sort out who's the real applicant versus a fake applicant.
you're absolutely correct. And that's why I think even Olga, maybe, or somebody mentioned this, always go to the company website as well. Okay. So you see any ads for a job posting anywhere, LinkedIn, if it's on Facebook, whatever, go to the company website to validate, to make sure it's real. Okay. For me personally, I don't know where my number, who it went to. I am getting text messages every week from different recruiters. I'm putting this in quotes. And immediately I'm just reporting spam. Okay. So I mean, it's been a few months now, and so and it's always a different number, so I don't even know how to get to the source of it. I just report spam. So the thing is, you always should check, okay? Check the websites. And that's again why I know I'm repeating myself, but why when you're applying online and you see 100 people, 200 people applied, they're not all real, right? They're not all real. But that's why to get yourself through, you have to do other things like contact the job poster and again, make sure that's a real person as well. So let's go to the next one. This category I put together, there were a couple of questions, but I put this category together as volunteering applicable to job experience. So here are the questions. I have an employment gap, but fill it with freelance work, which I've done in my spare time, part-time since 2007 in marketing, which I actually do, but not full-time. I also started working part-time this year as a volunteer doing marketing work. Is it better to roll that volunteer work into the freelance work on my resume or list it separately? If the latter, then my question is, how do I explain to an employer why I'm looking for a new part-time job? Do I say because I've been working for free? Another person submitted a question. I'm currently working part-time as a volunteer. Working part-time as a volunteer marketing for a charity. I'm looking for a paid part-time job. What is the best way to answer? Why do you want to leave this job? Should I say because it's pro bono, or does that lose me leverage in negotiating salary? So here is my opinion on these questions, okay, and these topics. So volunteering and explaining a paid job gap. It's kind of both of those, right? So when explaining not being employed for pay, also known as volunteering, okay, it's best to be honest and focus on the positive aspects of your time off. So frame it in a way that highlights your growth, skills development, contributions during that period, rather than focusing on lack of a traditional job. And I've had lots of clients who've been in this situation. And it's, you know, with your time off, you've done something, you've done things. And so it's very good to be able to sort of highlight those skills that you had. But being upfront is really important. So acknowledge the gap, just like I said, don't hide it. You know, people understand, they're people as well. Everybody has different situations and unemployment happens. Explain briefly and positively. So give a concise explanation without dwelling on negativity. So don't ever dwell on, you know, what all the negative or really bad things happening, things like that. You know, that's not what you do in an interview. You want to focus on your skills, your experience, and moving forward. So things like, I've been focusing on personal development and skill building. I've taken these courses. I've volunteering. I took a break to explore different career paths. I've been freelancing, consulting. I wanted to try that out. Now I'm ready for a permanent role. I was pursuing a personal project. Now I'm ready to dedicate myself to full time. So for me, one may say I had about 6 years, 7 years of a non-traditional situation. It wasn't full time like I was, you know, a global director at Mondelez. And so I always positioned it as I was exploring different options. I called it a portfolio career. I did different things. I did a lot of volunteering. I outlined all my volunteering. I also said I wanted to be home while my kids were in high school and to have more flexibility. So I took on different types of jobs because when I was working at Mondelez, I was never home. So, you know, I was very upfront about that. And I was able to get another chief marketing position, you know, being upfront because, you know, I wanted it to be flexible, and they thought they were getting a bargain, getting somebody who had so much experience because I did have all that experience. Okay. But be upfront. Highlight skills and experience gained. So even if not employed by pay, you might have gained valuable skills or experience during this time. Just like I said, you know, you could have, in fact, I organized and led the hockey banquet for my kids' senior year, 150 people, and I literally like planned out, ran the entire thing. That's great organization skills, right? Working with, you know, I led teams of volunteers. That helped me when I was interviewing for this job, talking about how I can influence people who aren't reporting directly to me. So there's a lot of experiences that you have that you can use to answer interview questions. Number 4, demonstrate your commitment. Explain how you've stayed engaged and maintained your professional edge. I think I just talked about that already. Reassure the interviewer. So briefly touch on why you're interested in this job. So I'm excited about this opportunity because it allows me to leverage my X skills in this area. I'm particularly drawn to the company's work mission and believe my experience would be a valuable asset. So here's an example. After leaving my previous role, I took some time to focus on personal growth and skill development. I completed a course in X and volunteered at Y, which helped me further develop my skills. I'm now actively seeking a full-time position where I can leverage my skills in X area and contribute to a company like yours, which I've been following closely. And what's really important with all this is to have researched the company well, so that you can talk about how you align with their mission and their passion. and then really understand the job posting and what they're looking for so you can present yourself that you're experienced for this. Okay, so I'm going to pause there. Any comments or questions about that?
I have a question. This is Tammy. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hi, Tammy.
Um, Thank you so much for this. I think it's really helpful for during the interview process. This verbiage is really great and I love it. My question is if I actually started my own freelance business, so I have a name and everything, and I'm doing part-time work for different companies. So is it bad to put that like with my company name as the top thing that I'm working on my, experience on my resume? Because does it look like I'm not committed?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. I totally get it. Totally get it. You know what you can do? It's not about not being committed. It's about showing the authenticity and the size and the scope of the work that you're doing. Okay. So the clients you're working on, if you can name the clients, describe the work that you're doing. Take a look at my LinkedIn, okay? Because you'll see that I have a section doing exactly that. Elisa Udaskin, da 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 da. I have it there, okay? And I've outlined all the things that I did during that time and the consulting that I did during that time.
Okay, thanks.
So again, I totally get where you're going because I grappled with that as well. So try not to think about that so much as focusing on how do you articulate and demonstrate the scope, the depth, the magnitude of the work that you're doing as a freelance consultant. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, hi. I'm doing something similar in a way too. I've been in the commercial banking financing field, David Meyer, and I started up a company because I have clients that are in that field that I can contact and look to essentially broker business. So I've been looking for a job, but I've also been actively, involved with clients. So, I don't know if there's a concern with the commitment, but in the interviews I've had, I haven't really been asked too much about why you'd want to leave what you're doing. I think I might have been asked once or twice, and I would, say that I'm looking to do something more with teamwork and a large organization. So I'm just curious what your sort of take was or thoughts on that.
Yeah. So the way I've approached it for myself, okay, is we are not all okay. This is my viewpoint on this whole thing is that sometimes we're linear human beings in terms of our career, and sometimes we're not, and most people understand that, especially now with the new generation that takes what they want, like we're used to, we needed to demonstrate 20 years, 30 years at the same company, the linear trajectory, whatever. Nowadays in the workplace, you can say you're working for a year and then you want a year off to travel, or you want to be working from Norway, or you want to do this. And that's kind of the way things are evolving. And I think for those of us that sort of grew up in the sense of everything being linear, it's harder to get our head around it. So with that being said, I would say that you say things that are true and authentic. I wanted to try out being my own boss and doing this at that point in my life. And now I'm realizing that I miss working for an organization and I'd like to go back to doing that. I wanted to give it a shot at doing this and see if I liked it. I was exploring this. I did it for a couple of years. While I enjoyed it, I really missed this aspect of working for a corporation. Absolutely. It gives you more dimension. And like when you are working for yourself in a startup, you know how they always say, like, when you're working in a big company, did you work at a big company before, David?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So, when you do the mid-year and the year end, and, you have those formal reviews, you have to pick all the competencies, the leadership competency. Okay, you have that book. Well, now, of course, it's digital, whatever. And you have to select the competencies. And one of them is act like an owner, right? And then you have to give example, or you need to act like an owner. Well, I'm telling you from experience, I always put act like an owner because of course I cared about every single dollar in the $50 million budget I had to spend, not my revenues, but I act like an owner. You don't act like an owner until you are an owner. You don't
That's
act
true.
like an owner truly,
Yeah.
truly, until you're running your own business and the money's coming from your own pocket. And the reason I say that is because when you move to consulting and stuff like that, you are gaining so many more skills about multitasking, doing things yourself, figuring out how to have a lean organization, and you're bringing even more skills to the table when you go back to a corporate job. So
Good.
you focus on all the skills that you're bringing by having worked for a large corporation, then having worked for yourself, okay? And then that together is bringing even more skills to your adaptability and to a new role. See what I'm doing here? Everything is something that you can present as a skill that you have acquired and developed.
Right. That's great. Thank you.
Okay, so
Sorry, I could mention, people may know this, LinkedIn does have a career break title that you can
yes,
use, of course. However, I rarely recommend that to people simply because it raises a lot of yellow flags, questions, concerns, unless you explain it in the subheading, that it was, time out,
yes.
as you said, Elisa, to do studies, to volunteer, to reposition, to, whatever. Other things that people can do when they put an independent consultant, that's fine. And as you point out, what do you bring from that experience is going to contribute to the company's growth? That's great. But the other thing is that, I'm sorry, the phone, I just want to decline that. It's important, I think, some people are listing that they were a personal caregiver, and they were for real, taking care of an aging parent, or it could be taking care of a child. But you don't have to go into those details necessarily. You could just say personal caregiver, and I took time off to do that, and now everything is under control. I'm ready to get back in, go full force. There's no obstacles, So what do you think of that approach?
I absolutely, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I'm not going deep enough in a lot of these because I'm trying to cover a lot. To answer I think, following up what I was saying before, is life happens, guys, and there is much more of an understanding and acceptance that life happens. I love that LinkedIn has put that feature on. And if you need have been out of the workforce for your own medical leave or caregiving or things like that, you do not have to give examples, but I would choose one of those and put it on there. And it is completely acceptable. No one is allowed to ask you. They won't ask you. But the people who are interviewing you are human as well. And they have parents and grandparents or children or sisters or friends who have gone through things as well. So again, be authentic. And I love that there's that feature. Yes.
And if they do ask you, of course, you can simply state, look, it's very personal. I don't need to go into it or want to.
I don't think they will.
No, but sometimes we have employers anyway in Montreal that will and do.
Boy.
And we just say, because it's not professional, as you're pointing out, to ask that question, but
Yeah.
people do. And you just say, look, it's personal, but I can assure you it's not an issue. I'm ready to go full force and bring, and I get it back on track, as you have pointed out.
Yeah, I have everything in place. I have everything in place that I can focus more of my time on work again. There you go. Absolutely perfect. Okay, so someone asked if it's a disadvantage to disclose a disability in a job application when they ask. No, it's not. Okay, I have a whole thing to talk about. You can email me, whoever asked that question, email me and we can talk about that. Okay. It's totally different. So I can get into that. Okay, so let's go to the next question. Networking. Okay, this question came through. How do you find applicable in-person networking events and what to say to other participants at events, including what to say if you're not working for pay at the moment? Which is great about this question is that I answered it, most of it in the last question. But we have a couple of different resources here. Cultivating networking habits that Rachel Rosen presented. There's a video on that one. Informational interviewing, your path to job success. But Deb is actually going to be one of our speakers. We're going to be talking about informational interviewing in an upcoming session as well. So I did some research, and when you get this presentation, all the links are hyperlinked, like all of the things underlined are hyperlinked. So for ways to find in-person networking events, you can use things like Eventbrite, Meetup, or LinkedIn. Okay. So you guys can go through these at your leisure. I put all the links in here and I check them out. The other thing is reach out even more so than this. Like these are going to be like bigger events that places are going to be posting here, is your local chamber of commerce. And this is a hyperlink as well to give you some ideas of how to locate your local chamber of commerce and how to contact them. Professional associations are always really great. Others is you could try Facebook or other social media and put in networking or business and search words. Alumni networks are excellent. Okay. Alumni networks are excellent because the minute people are like, oh, you went to, and I'll say this, only Jonathan's going to know when I say this, you went to Queen's University, and he says, rival of McGill, the best school in the world. Thank you very much, Jonathan, because we're Canadian. If I say, if anybody comes to me who went to Queen's University in Kingston, Canada, I like immediately will drop everything and help them because I'm an alumni from there, right? So alumni networks are really, really good. Referrals,
McGill
of
is the
course.
Harvard of the North.
Queens. Okay,
No,
we can
no,
have
I
this
know,
debate.
but McGill is the Harvard of the North. I'm teasing you, teasing. Go.
I know you're teasing me,
All
but
right.
now you're going to get sidetracked
Sorry.
because I'm very, very obstinate.
I'm going to
And
mute myself.
we had a rivalry between our schools that nobody else here who's American probably knows much about. Okay. Referrals and industry events, attending conferences. Now, here's the thing. When you're looking for a job, you don't have a lot of spare cash to pay for these things. So I encourage people to do everything you can for free. Okay. If an industry event is costing money, research it like crazy to see who's going to be at that event, which attendees, call them, the organizer, find out if you can get a discount. The worst that can happen is they say no. You could ask if you can volunteer. I've done that before. Ask if you can volunteer at the Marketing Association's event in New York City. Ask if you can volunteer there, and then you have access to the event. Don't pay if you don't have the money, if you don't want to spend the money on it. There's lots of ways to get involved. Okay. And the important thing is you're getting out there and you're meeting people. That's the important thing. Okay. Are there any questions? I'm just going to pause here for a second. Are there any questions about how to find or anything about networking events?
I just shared that it's, for me, when I was getting back into it, Meetup, I noticed Meetup had like a sizable drop off for our local networking events, and also the networking events in the industry has changed. So Eventbrite actually wound up being a better choice. And now I look at Eventbrite, and sometimes they'll have things listed as Eventbrite. So just some thoughts.
No, that's great. And can I ask you what area you live in or what state?
I live in Columbus, Ohio, and for some reason, like all the ones that used to be listed there are not listed there anymore. And the guy that was the head of, and they're all technology related, and the guy who was the head of that, he's still on LinkedIn, but most of the things that are related, and it's like a very broad category of AI, are on Eventbrite now. They're not on Meetup.
Okay. Thank you. That's a good tip. Does anybody have any other tips about, and actually let me ask you, like, do you guys, prefer wanting to go to an in-person networking event? I guess it's harder to do it online or virtual networking.
Absolutely. I get to see them
In person.
face to face. I have COVID Zoom fatigue. I'd
Yeah.
much rather see you. Oh, one more thing. When I have gone to the networking events in the past, the face-to-face ones, instead of just kind of glomming onto a group of people and being uncomfortable talking to people, what I did, and it still works, is if there are people who have booths with their services, is just go up to them and talk to them. How did you get started? What did you, and that actually helped, because by getting to know them, I actually got to know people in a broader context.
Okay, I have not heard that. I think that that is absolutely brilliant, because when you're in a networking, I love that. Okay, and I'm going to build on it. So you're going to a networking event and you're by yourself and you're like, or even if you're with someone, it is so hard to approach other people and to start talking. Like, it's so hard, even for the most extroverted people. I find it hard. But if I was to go up to, like, they have a few booths, right? And I was to do that and talk to that person at the booth who's, maybe a supplier or something, other people who are feeling the same way as I am are probably there as well. And so, and this has totally happened, because you're making me think back to this, an event I've been to, and I end up speaking, not just the person behind the booth, but the people who were like me, who came to the booth. And that's how we started a conversation. So I love this idea that if you're going to a networking event in person and you're having a trouble, like, actually approaching or meeting people, go to wherever, like, it seems that there's a congruent, a booth or something like that. And those people most likely are looking to talk to you as well. I love that.
I just thought of another thing. When I have gone to these in the past, there are, like, inevitably, and it's women, inevitably somebody from Avon, somebody from Merle Norman, somebody from, and they're trying to get clients. I just thought of this, instead of just saying no, turn the tables and say, you know what? I'd be happy to do that with you. Could you get me some photos? Why not?
The other thing with that, about changing your framework to, no, that isn't what I need, to, I'll look into an opportunity, is that every person knows people. Every person knows other people. So when you're talking to somebody and you're saying, I'm looking for a marketing job, they may not be in marketing at all, but their neighbor, they know that at this barbecue that they go to every year, or for, in my life, every Passover, it's the same. My in-laws' cousins are always there. I only see them at Passover, but I know that one of them is in marketing or is a plumber or whatever. And, if I know that someone's looking for something, I know I can reach out to that person. So the more that you talk to people, you don't know who people know. You want to introduce yourself. So that's really good.
Can I please just point out something we may touch on in another discussion, but the filtering system as a tool to get to people that your first degree connections know. Maybe now's not the time to go into that.
Go for it. You can explain that now.
The point is, let's say you connect with someone who is more outgoing, has social networks that are broader than you or different than you. Once you connect with them, if they allow you, and probably about 80 to 90% do, you can click on their connections, of course. You can go through 1,000 connections. It could take you hours, but you can also click on the All Filters tab at the top right of the LinkedIn page. And then a criteria page slides out, and you can put the criteria, the company they work at, the company they worked at in the past. So, and you can go through that, or just scroll right down to the bottom and put the title that you're interested in. So you could put plumber, as a title at the bottom of that, and click, and you'll see all the plumbers that person knows. Or you could put director. If you want to talk to a director, you'll see all the director people. And from there, of course, you can then communicate with the person, say, you may have forgotten, but I see you know so-and-so. Do you mind if can I use your name? Do you give me permission? And then go from there. So the filtering system is good. And the other point I'll mention that was brought up by the other person, when you find out their career path, which is brilliant, like you said, Elisa, to do that, you can also look at people's histories, where they worked before, because guess what? Where they worked before is maybe where you can work now, especially if they're in the field that you're in. So maybe you're not going to apply to their company and threaten them, or there's no job, but you see where they worked before. They hired similar people with similar backgrounds. They hired them. They may hire you. That's a very rich place to go mining for jobs, I think. So I'll just leave you with that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so this one is tough. This next one, I don't have a full answer, so I would love people to help me with this one, okay? So 3 different questions that I think are kind of in the same category. It's about job titles. Having a job title, my last role before an RIF, that is not where I have my expertise or interest is going forward. How much can you alter that formal title, especially if the role was not what the title conveys? And is it frowned upon to tweak a former job title? I would have to list in an application the true title for background checks. Second question. Having a consultant's background of 20 plus years, I do not literally have the job titles or pure experience of multiple years in one specific area, but years of depth and overall experience with the skill set for next desired role. For example, as a PMP, I do multiple full project implementations, or if I would like an SAP project, I do not have 3+ start to finish implementations, as we generally join teams when in progress to right the ship many times and then move to the next project, and it could be another platform other than SAP. The third question, different person. How best to align my LinkedIn profile with my resume if I have multiple resumes based on titles or adjust my resume to fit specific positions? Okay, so the category here really is about job titles, and you're not going to want to change your LinkedIn all the time, because that should like sort of be evergreen, right? In terms of what your job titles were at positions, but it also may not match directly to that job that you are applying for. So this is what I recommend. First thing you need to do is identify what kind of job you are looking for, okay? Is it manager, director level? You could be open to both, things like that. And then you have to make a decision and have your titles sort of like align with what that general direction is going to be and how you want to present yourself. Do you want to present yourself as I'm a VP? Do you want to present yourself I'm a seasoned executive, or I'm a director, or I'm a manager, or, and then you can adjust your titles. I think a lot of us get caught up in they're going to check, my title is different from what it actually was. Well, titles change, company names change. Like I worked at Kraft, but it's now called Mondelez, like companies get sold, companies are defunct and they're not there anymore. So things do change. So I think that this is really like an individual case by case basis, how you want to have, like, it's not an overarching advice I can give, as opposed to really thinking through your situation and what the appropriate job title you would put. But I welcome other people's thoughts on this, because I don't have like one answer fits all for this one at all.
Yeah, this is something that is on my head and has been on my head for the last 2 years. And I keep back and forward and doing small changes on my LinkedIn profile, trying to match what I'm looking for. So most of the coach that I work with, they always recommend me, okay, it's not about your past, it's about your future. So what are you looking for? And try to match your past experience based on that, and try to get it as close as possible, even if it's not exactly the right title that you have. And I always have that fear that if somebody's gonna check, or when they call my refers and they say, oh, was this person in charge of all of this, or maybe their refer is gonna mention something different and it's not gonna be aligned. So far I never have that situation, but I try to keep it more generic. So trying to, if I was the, I don't know, director of a particular piece, I keep it as most generic. I said, okay, I was the overall director or head of, or trying to keep it more generic and do not just leave it in one single spot. That's what has been work for me so far. And then sometimes I keep LinkedIn with the more generic version, and maybe I make my resume more accurate, I would
Customized.
say. And I don't know, that's what I have been trying to do. Tell me if that's fine
I think
or
I
I'm
would give
doing
you
any
this.
mistake?
I think that makes a lot of sense. And you can, so your LinkedIn, you're not going to change as much. Like you certainly can change it, especially, change it when but it's all about what you're looking for, the future, as opposed to reflecting your past, right? So you may need to adjust some of the titles and some of your past experiences so they align with the future, with what you're looking for. And then on your actual resume, you can customize that and to go into more details. I completely align with that. Good
What
job.
about if on your resume, you said like director of this, effectively something else, or including skill set, inclusive of, oversight of this. I'm use your actual title so they could trace it. And also added,
Yeah. So what you're
effectively a
asking,
broader role or something like that.
yeah, no. So what you're asking about, which is great, which is, you have the title and then you want to demonstrate with your bullets, the impact you made, the scope, everything about the job, 100%, and what you've accomplished. Yes.
All right, thank you.
Yes, 100%.
One additional, go ahead.
I just wanted to, somebody posted in the chat that job titles in their industry are all over the place. And that's something that I've experienced as well.
Yeah.
What I've done is I just kind of I'll read between the lines a lot in the position and just, there a lot of the times they're looking for the older title, but they're putting it under a different category and they're asking for, you to take less money. So it's just something to think about when I think about it. I mean, I'm not going to discard it, but I have to, really weigh my interests and what aligns with my current values.
Makes sense.
Elisa, one more thing is on my last job, I was actually I had a VP level title officially on my company, and that's what I put original on LinkedIn. And I was not receiving any call or any contact, and I was afraid that maybe VP was targeting too high, and I will be easier to find a job one step below. So I changed it to a IT director or head of IT, what is more accurate for the job that I was doing. And that's when I started to receive more reach out from the recruiters. Do I'm doing anything wrong, or I can get any cut from a recruiter because I switched that at one point?
No, I mean, I think that's fine. We all know that titles, what helps to show the scope and everything is the size of the organization. You could be making significantly more money as an IT director than a VP of IT, depending on what the organization is and the scope of your responsibilities. And that's why the title thing is really, really tricky, because it doesn't really matter. You could be making a lot more money as a manager than you are as a VP. If you're a manager of a global, huge company with a large budget, a large revenues, as opposed to a VP of a small company. A title is a title. And so, but to your point, you want to be noticed. So I think you did the right thing to get in there, is to make it a little bit lower.
Excellent.
But it's all about getting that chance of getting that interview and selling yourself in that interview. Yeah. Yeah, titles, I mean, I got trumped up with that. No, didn't mean to use that word, sorry. No politics here. I got stepped over myself or whatever in my head
That was funny.
yeah, thank you. But yeah, over myself years ago, when I was still at Mondelez, and I realized that as long as I was progressing in roles at the company, that I was adding to my toolbox and my skills, that I loved what I was doing and I was making more money each time, the rest of it, Okay, Susan, and actually we have time for okay, so that's that question, but go ahead, Susan.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate the discussion on this topic. One quick question I had, and maybe Herman asked it similarly. Can you actually change that title on your resume? Some people are saying it's considered a legal document, depending on how it's presented.
Nah, you can change it. I've never heard that, but I'm not a lawyer. So whoever told you that, check out with them.
No, same thing in other career sessions and things. So I was curious your take on that, because I agree. When you have a title, that doesn't make sense, and it goes the opposite too. I was fortunate to be at a large corporation where my title was a manager title, but I was getting paid at a director level.
Yeah.
They weren't doing promotions. They held people back, because of whatever.
Yeah.
So it doesn't always mean much. To your point, there are so many titles that don't always interpret correctly across the board.
So that's why on my resume, I have the size of the organization under each one in revenues. I always have the size of the organization in revenues or the size of the business that I was running.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Just show the scope of it, and by the way, when I'm saying, I just want to clarify, when I'm saying that you can change the titles, I am always advocating for being authentic and it being real. Okay. It's just that there are different ways of, different names for different titles. Okay. But you always want to present yourself in a true fashion.
Oh, absolutely. Well taken. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Elisa, I have a question about the titles. This is Yi Jiao. When some companies go and check what you have on your resume, especially large corporations, I think the corporations are only legally allowed to confirm your title, the years you've worked, and I think there was one more piece of information. So if the name of the title has morphed over the decades, what title do we put on LinkedIn and the resume? The title we were originally hired with or left with, or the new title?
Okay. So that's a good question. So I don't know the exact mechanics of the answer, but given what you just said, so basically a lot of companies use services and other companies to do the check, right? They verify, like you said, that the person worked there, the years that they worked there, and what their title was. Okay. So what you can do is, like on my LinkedIn, did I put in? Well, what I recommend for some people is you put your title, maybe you put the title, whichever order you want to do it, but you make sure that you have what the was formerly called or at the time was called. Like you can just write that in a bullet on LinkedIn. Like, give me an example of what you mean of two different titles.
It could be unit leader versus manager.
Okay. So if unit leader was what it was called 15 years ago, okay, but manager is what we usually call it now. That's what you prefer. So in the title for when you put it on LinkedIn, do manager, and then the first bullet will be unit leader, da, 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 da.
Thank you.
So you have both in there because
Right.
we don't know what they're using and, and it's, yeah.
Thank you.
And in that case, what we should put on the resume?
Again, same thing. Put both in. Use both words.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So with that, we're going to be ending this part of the webinar, and I will stay on for a little while for the networking session. I want to, okay, this is really weird. Thank Hannah and myself for being our guest speakers here today, and look forward to seeing you all at our next Job Seekers webinar. I want to thank the Jewish Federation of Metro West and Project M for generously supporting us to put on these webinars that you guys can attend at no cost. So until next time, thank you.